Hey, we're live. Okay. Okay. Nice. Not a moment too too soon or late. Hopefully, maybe a moment too late. Either way, Oliver starting off the chat right 20 minutes early. I hope that wasn't. Oh man, I hope that wasn't super early. I had to delay so much. So much. I'm sorry about that, guys. I did not realize how much more work that shoot was gonna be than it was. I had a lot of bad luck today. It just kept adding up. So, but I'm here. I'm here. I'm stoked you guys are here, and I'm ready to do some questions. Yeah, this stream is not Henrik. Good to see you, Henrik. Good to see you. Glad you made it. Not much editing today. Just gonna kick it with you guys. Hang out. Today's a conversation. Hopefully there's enough of you. I'm here to answer your questions. And you're here to answer my questions. And Lord knows I've got tons of them. Tons of them. So worst comes to worst, it's just Henrik, JFH, and I. JFH, good to see you, my dude. Number 98. Always representing. Glad you guys could make it. What do you guys think about this time? Like, is this super inconvenient? Or is it like maybe a little bit more nice? A shoot you can elaborate on, or is it Andy? No, today was like a pop-up shoot. Porsche Center Oslo has a super dope new 911 Turbo. I can show you a picture of it. It's in Nardo Gray. Yeah, I don't know how much. Let's see. You can't see anything. But they've parked a brand new 911 Turbo S in the Porsche Center studio. Porsche Center Oslo studio, the Supreme Roastworks place, and it's super cool. And they just wanted to document that it was there. And that's where I come in. It's actually a little thing I do, little hobby called photography. It's pretty exciting. Can I read my story replies on browser? Ooh, that's a sexy beast. Yeah, Henrik, I'm just gonna assume that you're talking about me. No, yeah, it is dope. My phone refuses to charge today. So we've got 12%. Hopefully that's enough to read through some of your questions. They do a good coffee there. I mean, I'm assuming. I don't drink coffee. Maybe that was somebody's question. If that was, then congratulations. I answered it first. But they do really good coffee ice cream. I know that much. In the summer, that's the move. That is by far the move in the summer. Can I not see like story replies or anything on browser? On Instagram? I don't know. I'm not too sure. Maybe I'll just give up on that. Meta letting me down as always. That's what they do. What have you guys been up to? What have you guys been doing today? What's going on? You guys been shooting, chilling, working? All the above? I want to hear about it. What's going on in your day? Let's start. Let's dig into these questions. I have no idea how many questions I got. I don't think I got like any. Let's see. We got a few. I can see Henrik tried. Henrik tried a little bit. And posted a few. Should we start with Henrik's? Henrik, let's start with yours. How do I do this? View replies. Oh, guys, I'm struggling. Okay, Henrik's was too long. Henrik, you sent me a message, right? Let me dig into that. Didn't fit the box. Tips to keep in mind. Can I read this out loud? Or is it is it bad? Sheesh. Mods dipping into the chat. Good to see you, Mods. One of them got too long for the box. Yeah, I can tell. Tips to keep in mind when reaching out to brands to show the products as fairly new to the game. Yeah, okay. How not to get taken advantage of. Brands giving a car for free for shoots and they get free photos. Where does the line go? Yeah. Man, Henrik, I could go for an hour and a half on this alone. So if I understand you correctly, you're asking about how to tiptoe the line between getting work from brands and getting paid for that work without like scaring brands away or kind of pricing you out or whatever. My role, and I think a lot of people's role when it comes to shooting cars for dealerships and stuff is, well, I don't know. I've heard that I do this a little bit more selfishly than others, but I shoot for the practice. When I'm borrowing a car from a dealership and it's unprompted, like if I'm the one asking, it's purely for me to get better at the photography. I usually have a story or something in mind that I really want to try to chase and try to do better at. And like lighting, for example, I will see some sort of lighting on Instagram that inspires me, and I'll be like in this headspace for a week where I just want to figure out how they do it. And the only way I can figure out how they do it is by trying it myself. A good example of that is the White's 911 Carrera S. That I shot, and there was tons of like red and blue lights. That took hours. That took like 4 hours by myself, just trying to get it done until like midnight or just past midnight or something. And I learned so much. And then the byproduct of that is that there's photos left over, right? It's a weird byproduct because it seems like a valuable asset that you can sell on further, because that's what we want to do as commercial photographers. But for me, the main product is the practice and the new skills that I get out of it. So the photos that I get, I typically license. I will let the dealership or the brand or whatever use the photos for like once for social media, but that's it. That's it. I'll limit the usage to just social media with the tag. And I feel like there's enough value in it for them that it makes sense, and there's enough value in it for me that I get better and it makes sense for me. How to not kill the market for people making a living out. Yeah, I think that last point is how you avoid hurting the market, the almighty market. You don't want to hurt it. But I think that's it. I think when you limit the rights, you can also limit it like to domestic use, to whatever. But as long as you don't give them free reign with the photos, then I think you've done what you can to avoid sort of killing the market. And by killing the market, if I can explain that for people who aren't really car photography people or haven't tried it themselves, if you do too much work for free, then people will come back all the time, right? Especially if you're good at it, especially if you're consistent, and if it matches the brand, a lot of people will come back. A lot of brands will come back and they'll say, we want more out of you, more out of you, more out of you. My rule is if the brand asks me, then I won't. If the brand comes to me and asks me to do a shoot, I will charge money for that shoot. If I go to the brand to try to practice, then I will let them use the photos on social media, but very like restricted use. And hopefully that answered your question, Henrik. You seem pretty stoked. Yeah. Also, there's another point that a lot of people don't really focus on when it comes to like not ruining the market for other photographers and not hurting other photographers' work. And that's really like befriend other photographers. We're not competing with each other. We're a bunch of dudes and girls and whoever who like love cars and car photos, and to think that your competition with somebody you have so much in common with is like crazy. So for us to get together and hang out and talk to each other about these topics, like that's innately not hurting the competition. That's you trying to fill in the competition with your idea and maybe evolving the market in itself. Mats, what are your thoughts on the Polestar 5? Is it the Polestar 5? Is it the Polestar 5? Let's get that out of the way. Let's think. So Polestar 1 was a hybrid. Polestar 2 was the four-door family sedan. Polestar 3 is going to be the SUV that's based on the XC90 platform. The Polestar 4 is a smaller SUV, I think. If that's not, I think that's a very confident yes. And maybe it is the Polestar 5. I think there is a smaller SUV coming. And then the Polestar 5 would be the Precept then. Or did I get those in the wrong order? But I think there's a big SUV and a small SUV coming before the Roadster comes. Having said that, the Roadster, the O2 concept is fucking cool. It's so cool. It's so cool. I love that car. I don't know anything about it technically. I don't know if it can drive. I don't know if it can turn. I don't even know if I fit in it. All I know is that that is a very pretty design. Very Polestar-esque. Very sharp in terms of the corners and the line. I really like that car. A lot. Yeah, I can't wait to drive that. And I talked to Joachim from Polestar, and he immediately was like, yeah, that's your car. So who knows? Maybe there's a Polestar in my future. Way down the line. Number 5, number 6. Henrik, I agree. We are in a small community, and we need to play each other to become better, not to crush the competition. Yeah, it's kind of an unfortunate truth to it that we do have such limited amount of work here in Norway, but like, come on, we're homies. We all like the same thing. Let's all just be grown up about it and talk about it like normal homies would. My homie Teddy asked, do you do porn? No, I have never and would never. Would I shoot porn though? No, I'm joking. I would not. Fun facts. My first contract with Sony as a Sony ambassador strictly stated that I don't use Sony products to shoot porn. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but come on, who am I hurting with that? So I think I might be contractually obligated not to. Thank you, Teddy. Very thoughtful question. 3 words, really. 2 were the same word. Taycan, Monica Frozenberry, Taycan Frozenberry, Monica D-Tang, as she's called. First of all, boss lady, super rad, super cool car, really good taste in cars, and really enthusiastic about cars. Stoked to be her friend. She says, how was your day? How has your day been? Yeah, thank you. It's been good. It's plagued with some very strange luck. I've been late. I've been stuck in traffic because of protests. I've been this and that, and yeah, well, I'm here. My bad, only read Precept and Polestar 5, really. But he was talking about what they've done already. Aha! There you go. Some fake news coming from Mats Anderson. No, it's, I mean, I don't know. I think they've got 6 cars in the pipeline. I think. And they keep claiming every time they make a concept that the new concept Polestar is going to be a production car, like in exactly the way it is. And I believe them. So let's see. I mean, they're not such a big company that they really need to define like their brand design in some unattainable, I don't know, like, I don't know. I feel like concept cars are a thing of the past in a sense, right? People are making concept cars just as like a test for the audience, just to see how the reaction is. And if the reaction's good, they just sort of stick with them. If you look at like the Mission E from Porsche, the concept for the Mission E was so cool and so well received like immediately that they just like, okay, let's stop developing the Taycan and let's just leave it at that. So there's so many, like the Taycan is a Mission E. It looks identical. Maybe a little less sporty, but I think just cool. Same thing with like the Cybertruck from Tesla. And the Cybertruck, for all intents and purposes, is a concept car, right? It doesn't exist outside of like the one time that they showed it and threw that metal ball and broke it. So, but I mean, that's for sale. People can buy that. You can buy that car. I think concept cars are a thing of the past. I think it's almost like video games, right? I think there's like alpha launches. or like beta previews of cars, and then people can go on from there. We kind of are like beta testers in the car community now, the way that cars are being pumped out, new technology is being pumped into them. But I'm okay with it as long as they look like the Taycan, like the Mission R, like the new O2 from the Roadster O2 from Polestar. That's dope. I'm okay with testing cars as long as they look like that. All right, cool. Let's see. Now I've exhausted that. Now.ph says, no questions. Just do more vlogs and YouTube content. Dude, appreciate it. Appreciate it. This guy's been nothing but nice to me in the chats. Super, super good, dude. Also a car photographer, and if he's not here, then he's missing out. NowOPH on Instagram. Nice guy. And he wants me to do more YouTube video. Yeah, maybe now's a good time to talk about that. YouTube content is easier to make when it's not winter, I've noticed. It's easier to go run and gun, especially if I'm going to bring mods out and create more than just a really quick video. So for 535 subs, woo! This is my 500 sub special stream, my Q&A. Every 500 subs, I'll do a Q&A. That's going to get annoying, hopefully, in the future. Yeah, it's hard to keep up the quality that we want to keep up during the winter because, one, there's fewer cars that we get to borrow. Two, the weather is just obviously difficult to work with. And three, the winter is really like a busy period with work and stuff. During the summer, everything slows down. In the springtime, even, everything slows down. It becomes a lot easier. So YouTube will pick up. We will get better at it. And I promise I will get better at holding a GoPro and just filming myself. But until then, I want to create consistency with these streams, which is why I'm not forcing myself to do today's stream, but I wanted to force it to happen because there was a lot of things that didn't want today's stream to happen. So yes, YouTube is happening more often. Let's go. Next question. Charlotte, did you survive COVID? No, I did not. No, that's kind of an interesting one. COVID. I've had COVID twice now for shits and giggles. I had the alpha in March. I got it on a shoot. Actually, the first time I got COVID was on a shoot with the Norwegian Air Ambulance. And I suspect it had something to do with being in a helicopter with someone else who had COVID. And the first one was like 3 days of pretty rough flu, cold-like symptoms. And then it was a week of a really sore throat because I coughed so much during the 3 days. But this time I just tested positive negative 2 days ago. Not as difficult. Omicron is a little bitch. I made it my bitch. No, thanks. Just started my journey here. And like Henrik said, common goal. Yeah, dude. Okay, you made it. I'm glad you made it into the chat. I was going to send you a link to this afterwards to make sure you saw that I answered your question. But I appreciate it, man. Your work is solid, and I'm stoked on where you're going with it. I promise there's a lot of people who want to like team up and shoot more, and I do want to do a lot more of that. It's near impossible to invite somebody new to each shoot that I do. Every time I borrow a car, to take somebody who doesn't already know like my lighting and my workflow, to take them and be like, okay, this is how I like to do it, and then to like bounce idea because I want it to be a conversation. It's tough to just bring new people into shoots all the time. So I did one car photography meet. And I love the way that that went, and I'm waiting for the snow to fully disappear now so we can borrow more cars and do more of that because I thought that was fucking rad, and I want you guys to join, and I want to learn from you guys, and I want to just talk to you guys in person about car stuff and photography. So yeah, Nabo, that will be the chance that we have to shoot together once I can start doing those again. And by the way, I've talked to Sony about this. Porsche Center Oslo is totally up to do more of this. And Sony definitely wants to be there on the next one. And they will bring cameras, and you guys can try all of like Sony's new cameras and the new like lenses and stuff, and you can play around. And you can play around with mine, the A1. This is not a plug for Sony, even though they are super nice to me, but Yeah, try this. Next time we do one of those meets, I'll bring a bunch of those A1s, hopefully, and you guys can try it because it's the fucking coolest. We can plan more of your workshops as we did with the Cabriolet. Exactly. And like your brother brought his Skyline. Things like that are so rad. Man, when we do those, when I tell people where I'm going to be with a car, and I want tons of people to come, and I want tons of different cars to come, and I want people to just brag about their cars. That's the coolest. I love seeing people roll up, super proud of this shit. Like we had an MX-5 there. There was a couple different Porsches. We had a GLS. That was pretty rad. But yeah, no, that was fun. That was cool. I want more of that. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, if you're not in the chat, join the chat. I am reading all of your comments and answering all of your questions and just hanging out with you guys today. Why not? Today's a fun one. It's for us. This one's for us. No one's learning shit today. We're just answering questions. So, next question. Who's the best skier on the mountain? It's me. Thank you, Jaggy Snake. Yeah, you used to be good. What happened to you, man? Get back on the mountain. It's clearly me. I am the best skier on the mountain. Everybody else is faking it. Elisa says, who's your favorite person? Not animal, but person. It's me, by the way. Elisa's also my girlfriend, so she's going to hate me. NXLSBST says 16 millimeter versus 24. Let me get some props. Uh-oh, it's going to be hard. Okay, I got one prop. So I have a 16-35 f2.8. This lens is on my camera at 90% of the time, which I guess will answer your question because right now I am filming myself on the 24 millimeter f1.4. So if the 24 has been downgraded to this and this has been upgraded to 90% of the time on my camera, then I think it speaks for itself. Especially the more I shoot and the better I get at telling stories with my photos, the more I get comfortable with not shooting at like shallow depth of field. And the more I appreciate having like f6.3 or f8 or whatever in photos. So then I like to rely a bit on the zoom to be able to tell my story. So 16-35 f2.8. But if you're going for primes only, Jesus. Sorry, I have a blister and my sock just got stuck to it, and I thought I almost died there for a sec. You guys know that pain. Yeah, if you're going for primes, then I would say 24 over 16. 16 is just too wide. It's too wide. If it's one of your only lenses, it's going to be useless in most cases. It's a fun one, but 24 is such a more like classy focal length. It's just, at least for me. I mean, who knows? Everybody's different. Everybody's photography is different. Do whatever you want, but I like the 16-35 f2.8 best, and if we're going for primes, I would go 24. What do you think about the 992 GT3 Touring? Okay. Oh, I have answered this question so many times when the GT3 was first announced. JFH, I'm not bored of the question. I love the question. I think it's a great question. Let me see if I can sum my thoughts up for you. I think the 992 GT3, the standard one, is dumb. All right, cool. Hopefully that summed it up enough. No, it's objectively, it's the greatest GT3 that Porsche's ever made. It's the fastest. It's also the fattest and the thickest and the most like gnarly. But we're at the point now in car ownership and prices of cars and car development where if you wanted the GT3, you could only afford one of them. Why wouldn't you wait for the RS? The RS is going to be monstrously fast. Like, monstrously faster than the GT3, the standard GT3. So why put a wing on it? I mean, you're driving a fun car, kind of fast, and I guess the wing is going to help. It's going to help quite a bit on a track, but if you want a track monster, get the RS. The GT3 has no place in a garage for a man who wants pure track speed. But if you want the 9,000 RPMs, you want the raw experience, you want the naturally aspirated 4-liter monster engine with the 520 horsepower or whatever it is. Like the Touring has a wing. It has a little wing. It pops up whenever you need it. It's like a standard 911. Get the Touring, man. The Touring is such a nice car. And then you have an excuse to get like more comfortable seats. You can get the 18-way. GT3 Touring is probably currently one of the coolest, top 3 coolest 911s ever made. There you go. And GT3 is in bottom 3. How excited are you for new F1 cars? Mott says, dude, I think the fun is over. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I think the fun is over, though. I think part of the fun was seeing how everybody in their own unique, blacked out minds and world sketched up what they thought the new regulations would allow them to do. And you got some crazy stuff. Like the Ferrari looks like nature made it. The Ferrari looks like over the course of 1,000 years, someone took a normal race car and just dripped water on it constantly, and it shaved out this like beautiful canyons on the side. It looks fantastic. It's so pretty. And then in contrast, the Aston Martin looks like I designed it. It looks like fat and chunky and thick, but it has like super cool old school air slots in them. I forget what they're actually called. I think watching the unveilings and watching them on the track for the first time next to each other was the coolest part. But like you're already seeing, Mercedes already added those like air slats, the gills as they're called. So the companies are already starting to blend into each other. They're already starting to see what's doing better. Mercedes started without the gills, and then they took off a plate, and surprised they had the gills underneath the whole time. So I think the most fun part is already passed, but I'm really excited to see how fast the McLaren is, because it looks consistent, how fast the Ferrari is, because it looks wild, and how fast the Aston Martin is, because it looks dumb. And I'm praying the Aston Martin is faster than all of them. Your opinion on Black Pro mist filters? I don't know anything about them. It seemed... am I right in thinking... Let me see if I can Google this. Am I right in thinking it's like softens up photos quite a lot, so it creates like weird lighting? Black mist filter. Let's see. Black Pro mist filter. Yeah, I'm right. I think I'm right. It looks like you put Vaseline on the lens. I wouldn't do it, man. You know how much... Do you know how much money this thing cost? The Sony A1. You know how much money that cost? That's 80,000 kroner. You know how much money this lens cost? That's another 27,000 or 30,000 in its heyday. I don't remember. This lens, another 25,000. Like, they put so much money, and you put so much money into having more insanely sharp glass and just perfect technology with no flaws, no imperfections. And it weighs less, and there's less hassle. To just put like something that softens everything on top of that. I get it's like your artistic vision and go for it, but you're kind of... It's like super gluing a wing to a 911. Like, I get it. It kind of makes it look cool, but you didn't make it faster. Just trust that the engineers know what they're doing. Ah, man. See, I don't know. This is hard because photography is so personal. And if you have one and you love it and it suits your style, then that's dope. And it's probably a fun challenge. It's probably a really fun challenge to try to get used to. But in terms of commercial photography, there's no real place for it. And if you want that kind of style, then you can just add it later. So, sorry I wasn't more friendly for that answer. I feel kind of bad about that. But, yeah. People use it for video mostly. Some like the looks of it and some don't. Yeah. I feel like it's... I feel like it belongs with the old, like, Vaseline trick that they did during soap operas back in the day. But I'm an idiot, and I only know one style of photography, and that's mine. I think cameras are too sharp nowadays. Too sharp? What? Too sharp? The goal is to the goal is that when you see a picture online I mean, you Google like the Eiffel Tower and you're like, cool, I wonder what the Eiffel Tower looks like. I bet it's fucking rad. The goal is to make a picture that looks like there's less of this between you and the subject. Less of camera, less of lens, less of anything. The goal is to create that realism that you see with your eyes, and then to create a visual context that sort of reflects the way you remember that moment. And to add more, I think just kind of like shits on the purpose of cameras. I couldn't be more mean. What am I doing? Why am I such an asshole? Do you, man. I think you're dope. I think you know what you're doing. Oliver GM. Oliver, if it's just, I knew you were here 20 minutes early. If you're still here and you're waiting for me to answer your question, I'm finally getting to it. You have 3 questions, actually. Let's get to it. How did you start photography? Dude, good question. Oliver, how did I start photography? I was a journalist, actually. I studied journalism. I have a bachelor's degree in journalism. I've always loved writing and storytelling. It's always been like a huge addiction of mine. And I realized when I was in college and studying journalism that if I had bought a camera, I was actually working as a journalist too. I was editing a online magazine and writing for a physical magazine called Down Days. It's a ski magazine. And that was rad. I had a lot of fun on that. That was a really fun job for a college student. But I realized that if I had bought a camera and wrote the article and took the photos myself, then I was twice as valuable and way more efficient. So then I bought, well, actually I used my student loan. I took a chunk of my student loan and I bought a Sony A33. Super cool camera. Maybe I can do, I promised you I would do a lens, or not a lens, but like a what's in my bag, and I will do that at some point. And maybe I'll tell the story better. But the A33 was cool for the time because it had a lens, or not a lens, it had a mirror that was semi-translucent, so it let light in and didn't have to flip up, which was super rad. I thought that tech was cool. It made the camera faster. I bought it and became absolutely addicted. And then I was taking photos everywhere I went. That was it. Then people started offering me money. I started to realize I could make more money as a photographer, a commercial photographer, and then I fell more in love with telling stories for brands, and that's how I became a photographer. Ta-da! When did you get your first job after starting to take photos? Good question. It might have been like a year or the same year after I bought that camera, because the first job I did, I think I was paid in clothing. It was for a ski clothing brand called Sabotage, or SB, or whatever they were back in the day. Old Norwegian brand. And they were the coolest dudes and they had the coolest athletes and we were all like chilling. Mats just left the stream. Rest in peace. And we were all chilling. So I decided it would be cool to join them on a ski trip, and they loved the photos so much that they ended up trading me a bunch of clothing for me to be on that trip and to create photos and content for them. So I think that was the first photo job I had. I wonder if I can find those photos. That was pretty rad. Is the difference so big between f1.4 and f1.8? Here's the thing. So let me get my 50 mil out as a learning device. Okay, might have broken the chair. Oh, nope, it's fixed. Okay, what is the difference between f1.4 and f1.8? This is the Sony 50 millimeter f1.4, the Zeiss. It's pretty cool. Mine is really special in that, I don't know if you can see this, but there's water droplets stuck inside of it. Now, of course you can't see that. I wouldn't be so lucky. Anyway, I think it's really fun because there's water droplets stuck inside it and it creates a really strange image. This has a manual aperture ring, which is also super dope. And I think it makes a noise. How satisfying that's that. F1.4 and F1.8 don't mean too much on this lens. If the lens is rated to F1.4, then Usually f1.8 doesn't really change too much of the photo. What it does do is it gets rid of some of the imperfections in the lenses, which is nice. And it does add a little bit of depth to the photo. And f1.4 does add some light to the photo. It's not a super huge difference, but you notice it's when you're really, really focused on something. But in terms of like quality of the shots, it doesn't make a massive difference. You still get some vignetting. You get all the characteristics of a shallow depth of field. So I think your question relates more towards this lens versus the equivalent focal length with f1.8. And that you'll notice is a much cheaper lens. And that's maybe where this comes from, is you have the moral dilemma of, do I spend the money and get f1.4, or do I save the money and get f1.8 and just sort of reinvest that money later into my camera gear? That price difference typically doesn't apply to just getting a little more light inside the lens. It usually applies to how good the glass is, how sharp the lens is, how little distortion there is in the lens body. In that case, f1.4 being more expensive is just a better quality lens. It's usually a better build. There's usually better materials. A lot of them are metal versus there's typically a lot of plastic in f1.8. But if you're just starting, you might not notice these things. It's really hard. But when you're used to shooting on full frame lenses that are f1.4, you would not trade it back. You would not trade it back for the world. Like I and every photographer I know would probably not go from an f1.4 to an f1.8. And it's not a status thing. It's not like because it's cool to have the most expensive, coolest gear, but it's because it's just sharper and better build quality and more reliable. The new lenses of Viltrox are so insane, and they are all f1.8. Which company is Viltrox? These companies are typically all under one factory, so I would guess it's the same as like, what is it, Rokinon or something? Viltrox. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about Viltrox. It looks like a bit of an older build, and typically with that comes more traditional ways, and the more traditional ways were usually sharper sometimes, but that's just huge assumptions. I'm sure it's a decent lens. I'm sure for your money, you're getting quite a lot of fun. I don't know how much they cost. I don't know anything about them, but it's probably a fun lens, but don't expect reliability. At least not the certain kind of reliability that you would get from like Zeiss, or like Canon's L series lenses are phenomenal. Nikon's Nikkor lenses are like so good. So good. Like the Holy Trinity from Nikon's lens setup, at least back in the day when it wasn't mirrorless, nobody could beat those. The 24-70, the 7200, and the 1635, I think. Those lenses were phenomenal. And that's because of things like the consistency in the builds and the materials they use and the reliability when you use it. Go check them out. They're sharp and cheap. Yeah, you know what is actually like really sharp and really cheap is Sigma lenses. Sigma lenses are pretty affordable. The Art series is incredible. The Art series is very, 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 very good. So in all like the third-party lenses, I trust Sigma the most. But I'm a Sony man through and through. What I have experienced once in a while out in the field is that the faster apertures like 1.2 and 1.4 has a bigger body than 1.8 or slower, and that the bigger lenses in size gives a more professional expression, both for better and for worse. Yeah, I mean, that's how they get the better glass in there, really. There's such a big difference in terms of quality from 1.8 to 1.4, even to 1.2. I mean, when you get down to like 0.95, like Leica's Semilux or Noctilux or whatever, it starts to get a little bit weird, but like the price reflects the kind of quality that goes into a 1.4 or 1.2 lens. you get so much more light into the picture and so much more reliability out of the lens. I'm kind of beating a dead horse here. Sorry, I've overexpressed myself on this topic. Oliver says, your favorite photo shoot? Oh, man. What? Favorite photo shoot? Oh, it might be a shot with... There's two. There's like two defining shoots that I've had in my life that were like iconic. The first one was I got called up. Well, I borrowed a tent from a company called Hell Sports and took it to Iceland with a homie, and we had such a blast running around, sleeping in the tent and shooting photos of like defenders and rad shit. It was super awesome. I sent those photos to the company, and the company immediately was like, hey, we want you to come up on the shoot with us in the north of Norway in September, I think it was. And we spent 5 or 6 days just walking around. I brought like 4 batteries. I brought a bunch of shit, and we were just hiking around in this national park in Norway called Rago, Rago, R-A-G-O. And it was like nobody had ever heard of this park yet. So it was empty. We didn't see one other person. We didn't see one cloud the entire trip. We saw northern lights every night, and we were just shooting tents as we went. So if we saw a cool spot, we would just post up, pitch the tent, take photos of it, and then we would sleep in the tents, and we lived the lifestyle. It wasn't fake. We didn't just run out, get the shot, and then run back in. It was awesome. That was like the most authentic, coolest photo shoot I'd ever been on up until then. And then just a few years ago, maybe like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe beginning of COVID. I don't remember. I got in touch with Porsche Center Oscar and Bottom, who is the newest Porsche Center in Norway. I had seen they had a brand new 992 convertible in gentian blue, and I took some photos of it. And while I was taking photos of it, one of the girls who was opening the center, she was like curious about what I was doing. Obviously, I was just walking around her car shooting photos. So I said, this is what I do. I'm a photographer. I love cars, and I went for broke. I was like, let me come by and introduce myself and talk to you about what we can do. And I showed up, brought some of my photos with me, and was like, this is what I do. I want to team up and shoot some cars. She said, okay, cool. We have this brand new red 992 C4S. You can take that car out for 24 hours because it's on red plates, and on red plates, you only get 24 hours on it. Go get some photos, send them to us. And this was the first time I had ever done anything like this. And the first time anybody had ever like trusted me with a car, which was so rad. Immediately took the car, drove around. I did a film with Photo.no, and that film has like 90,000 views or something. That was really cool. Like a behind the scenes of me shooting the car. I knew Andreas would be here. And then I picked up my homie Andreas, who is now in the chat. We went and drove it, played around. I took it, shot some more photos, and then the next morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, I picked up Andreas, and we just drove as far as we could within the allotted time. And that was probably the most fun I'd ever had on like the photo shoot, and whatever that's worth. That was the raddest. That was any time, like the first time anybody had ever trusted me with a car. That was the first time like I had been tasked with shooting car photos, that I was like, felt like pressure that I had to actually do something. And that was like the first time that I actually really experienced a new 911 and what driving could be. And that was fucking mind blowing. That was the raddest. We drove the hell out of that car, and we murdered an animal with it, and then we cleaned the animal off, and we returned the car, and it was like probably the coolest experience of all time. Probably. Yet. So far. I'm going to refresh just to make sure I'm not missing any questions. I got a question from my girlfriend. She says, how long are you doing your podcast? That seems like a practical question. I'm finishing up soon. Hopefully she hears me from out there because she wants my attention. And this is not a podcast. This is meant to be a conversation. Henrik, you asked something about licensing, but I think I answered it. Tips on licensing your work. I'll just run through that. This will be my last question unless anybody raises a question in chat. Tips on licensing work. It's really hard. Give up. That's my tip. No, I don't know. Sorry, I'm really been drinking a lot of water. Licensing work is the hardest part. It's the hardest part. Pricing yourself and figuring out your value and your worth is so fucking tough. I'm gonna spill the pain coming out. In the near future, as always. It's gonna be the dopest album of all time. Valuing your work is probably something that you're not going to be comfortable with ever. And I hope you aren't, because that means that you're too secure in your own worth. And that means your worth isn't developing, because your worth will develop. You'll get better at certain things. You'll understand that you are better and that you can provide more. And then you'll understand that other companies have a lot more value to your photos than certain companies. For example, if you're shooting one photo for Coca-Cola, you'll price that way differently than you would shooting 10 photos for, I don't know, Susie's hand knit socks. It's tough. There's no right answer. So that's something you just have to figure out, licensing. But in terms of splitting up where the photos end up, you can always choose between having international rights, which of course are more. Some people have an objective rule as to how much international rights should be over domestic rights. It's impossible. Just figure it out yourself. Domestic, time usage, so 2 years or 3 years or whatever, because you don't want to in the future see your photos get printed on the box of some company that had nothing to do with your photos. I will always try to limit my photos to the company that I'm invoicing. So if I'm invoicing or shooting directly for a company, I will state in the invoice that the photos are licensed to that company, and that nobody outside the company has a license to use it unless they come get the photos from me, because they don't own the photos. I own the photos. I'm the one who shot them. They're my products, and so on and so forth. It's just a matter of doing it a lot and figuring it out, but never do it for free if you think you can get paid. If there's at all a thought that you can get paid, try to get paid, whether or not it's just to signify that you are worth something and it's 1,000 kroner for a 1-day shoot or something, or if it's an appropriate price where you're actually really valuing yourself, then ask for money. Ask for money, because the one time you shoot for free, you're telling the client that you think your work should be valued as free. And that's never a good thing, because it's not easy to come back from. You're the free guy now. Anyway. One of my favorite shoots was the Polestar 1 with you and the rad man Johan. Yes, Mr. Rock. What a champion. Need to team up with Mr. Rock again soon. Second would be the drive home from the Cars and Coffee hosted by Porsche Center Sun. Yeah, I thought for a second you were going to say the drive home from our meetup, which I still am so curious what happened on that drive home. It sounds so epic, and I'm so bummed I missed out on it. Yeah, that shoot with the Polestar 1 was rad. We did a lot with natural light. A lot. We accomplished a lot. We got a really clean look, and you know what? It's cheating because that paint is super perfect. But yeah, I had a lot of fun on that. I think we really explored what was possible with that car, and I never actually saw the shots that Johan got. That's a very busy man, and he had a lot of other shit to do. But I'll bug him, and maybe we can see those someday. Man, how good is that Polestar 1? How good is that car? The more I think about it, the more I realize that car was amazing. Because in the beginning, I just sort of thought of it as a overly priced, weird Porsche 911. But man, it's not. It's not. That car is so special. Natural light power. Yes. I agree. My Instagram wouldn't agree, but I agree. I like natural light a lot. I want to get better at it. The best skill you can have is being able to convincingly balance artificial light with natural light. That's so difficult to do well. It's so difficult to do well. But if you're skillful, it's like blending CG in the Marvel universe with like real shots. If you're skilled enough to pull that off, then you nailed it. But that's hard, man. Nordic Autospa, you showed up at the very last second, and I'm happy you did. You and I have to team up soon, man. I gotta come down there. I don't know what's taking me so long. We should do it in summer though, when we can keep a car clean, and let's shoot something together. That'd be fun. Because your work is so dope, man. You shine car. The way you shined up that NSX is like ungodly. Ungodly. I have a couple cars that need some work. So maybe there's some of that in the future. Anyway, that's it. That's it. We almost did an hour. That's incredible. That drive, I didn't have time to pull out the camera. Man, what happened on that drive? I want to know. Next time I'm driving all the way with you guys back to your place, and then I'm going to go home. I want to know. Yeah, that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad we made this happen. This was fun. This was a strange one. There wasn't much pressure. There wasn't much stress. And it's fun just like chatting. Just chatting. Who would have thought we'd do this for 51 minutes? That's incredible. More of this, please. More questions. When I'm uninspired, I'm going to ask you guys more questions. But yeah, COVID killed me. I didn't have any new photos, so it was this. And thank you guys for tolerating it. And my posture. I just noticed my shoulders have been up here like the entire time. What's going on with me? Yeah. Anyway, for now, if I didn't answer your question, send me a message. If I did and you didn't see it, you missed out. Sorry. Join live next time because it's going to be dope. It was dope. I had fun. Anyway, I'll have more questions for you guys next time. For now, thank you very much. Go out, shoot some cars, and I'll see you out there. Fun as always. See you.